Cool. Just give me a thumbs up when you're good. Okay, so I'm here with Wezley, and we're here at Montevallo High School. And yeah, Wezley has some awesome programming projects that he's done. So we're just excited to do, a student interview and see a little bit about how he got involved in programming. So if you wanna start off and introduce yourself and say where you're from.
I'm Wesley Sherman. I'm from Montevallo, Alabama. I got started in programming when I was about 12 years old, and it was just a general interest with computers. So that interest eventually developed into something a little bit more, and wanting to see what makes a computer work and all the software on top of that. So I started researching, reading books on the various different programming languages, and then dabbling in it, and eventually got to a point to where I was able to write my own games and start up a small game development company.
That's awesome. So you mentioned you got started a while back. What was the first thing that you programmed?
It was actually an application that lets you access different webcams, like street cams and everything. And so
All right, that's creative.
it was just something to kind of get myself out there. It's actually done in Visual Basic, and what it allowed is just different buttons the user pressed to connect them to a random camera that was like a highway camera or zoo camera, and just let them see that.
Cool. So we've been talking a lot today about sort of, the applications of computer science, how you can use coding. And so you obviously have already taken your skills with programming and applied them in a lot of ways. But for students or others who haven't gotten started and are wondering about it, why do you think coding is an important skill for people in general?
Well, it's the future. This is basically what the future's building upon. Technology is what everybody's going to be using, and being able to program is just that key, that open door into something more than just being here.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned earlier when we were talking today that when you wrote your first program, it was actually pretty hard and you got stuck for about a week. And people get stuck when they're programming. So I was just wondering, do you have what are your tips for new students who are getting started with programming?
Just keep trying. It is very, very scary. It's honestly one of the scariest things that you'll do, especially if you're self-taught. But even just today, there are so many things available that can help you learn, especially your guys' course. That's probably the most amazing thing that I've seen, because I have friends that are able to do what took me about a year to do, and they've only been in your course for
Wow, that's
6,
awesome.
7 months.
That's awesome. I know you were self-taught, but then you still took the CodeHS course. What were you hoping, what were the main things you were hoping to get out of the more structured course?
I was hoping to improve my style, and that has helped a lot, and just to be able to maximize efficiency in my programming, as well as not being able to reuse as much code as possible, and make it to where it's actually readable by others, because what I've learned is that your code is read more by other people than it is by yourself.
That's exactly right. So I know you have a lot of big ideas, and we'll get to see a cool demo of what you're working on now. But how do you hope to change the world with coding? I know you're just in high school and you have some amazing things you're building. What are your big ideas that you hope that you can use your skills to do?
Well, I'm really, really wanting to help with the education sector, especially special needs, and that's kind of showing through some of the projects that I'm taking on now, where it's letting students with particular learning disorders, such as ADD or ADHD, to be able to get interaction with their learning environment and to be able to just take part in that, as well as helping students with certain muscular diseases, or even if they're paralyzed, to be able to use the applications I'm making with just their eyes.
Yeah. That's it's a good segue. Can you tell us what you are making?
Right now, the application I'm making is called Education Trainer. I'm probably going to be renaming it soon, because I've only had about a week to even plan it, is because of the Intel competition that I was in. And I'm really just going to do a big overhaul. Right now what it is just in the concept or idea phase, just showing that it's working well with the technology and that I'm going to be able to transfer this later on. But it is really just, it's allowing students to be able to play games and answer questions in ways that aren't really done yet.
So basically, just to clarify, what that means is that they're moving their hands.
Exactly.
Or can you explain exactly what that means?
They can use one of two modes. The first mode is gesture tracking, where they use their hand to interact with the environment, and they select answers. They just play the game and everything with different gestures. And I plan on having more games in there for people to play, as well as different interactions that they can do, like race car games and stuff like to that aspect.
That's so cool.
And then there's also the eye controls, to where they're looking at the screen is where the cursor will be, and then they'll be able to play these games with either just their eyes or with winks of their eyes, or just simple, really easy to do facial expressions.
Well, can we do a little demo? If either you want to demo it or I can demo it, whichever one works for you. Do you want to demo it maybe?
Sure.
Okay, do you want to come and we can see from like the actual side, like how it all works?
Alright, so
just talk us through like what's happening.
once it loads up, it starts into the main menu where you can choose one of two different tracking modes. We're going to start off with hand tracking. Once it enters the hand tracking mode, it just gives you a basic tutorial, rundown on how to use all the controls and everything. You can go and start from there. And then you go through the menu, select your subject, your grade level, and then one of 4 games. Once you select the game that you want to play, it'll take you to a short tutorial that'll just tell you how to play the game. Click continue, and then it'll take you to the game itself. Once the game loads, you have a question at the top and then one of 3 answer choices, and you just interact with the game, select the answer. Once you select the answer, mood tracking will enable for a couple of seconds and just get your initial reaction to the next question. And once it has that, it'll adjust the difficulty based on how you're responding. You also have a score system where it'll keep track of how many answers you're getting correct or incorrect, but it does it in a subtle way to where if a student gets a question wrong, it's not going to hurt them or make them think any less of themselves. It's going to give them another chance to correct them.
Awesome.
Once they want to go into something else, we're going to demo eye tracking now. And this is experimental, so it's not spot on just yet, but it will be soon. Right now it takes about 5 to 10 seconds just to grab the face data and get where your eye's at, and then where you're looking at the screen is where the cursor will move, and you just wink your eye to select, and you can select your game, and your boxing again.
Alright, tell me which one you're trying to select before you select it. Which one are you trying to select?
So the question is 2 plus 1.
So
We'll go ahead and select 3. Alright, accidentally selected 1. Alright, there's 3. So 2 plus 4, that's 6. We'll select the left one again, that's 6. These are all randomized. 7 plus 3, that is 10. That's the far right one. 6 minus 4, that is 2. Far right one once again. 4 plus, let's see, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12.
That's pretty cool.
Alright, so that is this game. I'll go ahead and
Can I try a quick demo?
go for it.
Alright, well you tell me which one we can do and then.
I'm going to let you try hand tracking once again. Keep your palm open at all times and facing the camera. Just slightly close it to select. And select the game that you'd like to play.
Butterflies.
Alright.
Alright, you want to come see butterflies?
Go ahead and click continue from there.
Okay, 2 plus 1. Let's see, can we find the 3? Come on. Boom. Got the 3. 10. Oh. Yes. 2 plus 4. Oh, I missed it. Oh, there comes another 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. That's awesome. That's so cool. Alright.
So there are various games for the student to play. We tried to target as many different interests as we could, from the butterfly game to firefighter and boxing.
So did you build this yourself or with other people?
I did all the programming by myself. I had a friend of mine who's also the co-founder of our game startup just do all the artwork, and design-wise and coding, that was me, and I just gave him all the stuff, like a list of all the artwork I needed, and he drew it up and did a pretty amazing job with it.
Cool. Well, thanks again so much for talking. This is some pretty...
Can you tell us more about your game startup? What's
Yes.
that?
The game development startup that we're doing is called Most Wanted Game Development. We started in 2012 with our first release, Solar Forge. To date, it's sold 6,000 copies for 99 cents. And then after that, we made another game called Adeline's World War II Arcade, which is on Android and iOS, and that one is currently free. Our latest release is called Exiled, which is this short platformer game that's on Android right now. It's also on Newgrounds and Congregate, and it's pending approval in the App Store.
Well, yeah, this is some pretty awesome stuff that you're doing, especially the just way that you're using the hand tracking, eye tracking is just super creative. And yeah, so thanks again for talking with us. It's really exciting to hear, how you use the CodeHS course, and hopefully this can inspire a lot of other students who are hoping to get started with coding. So, thanks.